Hello there. This is Ron Wills coming back at you again with yet another video. Fellas, a man has to pull multiple women. Now, that just sounds like I'm just encouraging y'all to be players, but understand the context in which I'm saying this. It's really not about being a player or being a womanizer, dog, what have you. The reality out there is that a man, if he just wants to pull, he can be the most monogamous man on the planet. Just wants to pull that one special woman, she got everything he wanted, his soulmate, his lover, his wife, his queen. The reality is, if he wants to get that woman, he has to get several women. Now, let me explain what I mean by that statement. And just to let you know, I've gone on record as saying I don't teach game, but that's not to say I don't know some stuff. There's just some stuff I don't share publicly. But I'm about to rectify that, and I'm going to give you a little dose. Because the way I look at things is really different from a lot of other people. Check out my last video, Perceptions of the Game. Anyway, here's the thing. All men have to realize, a lot of men make a mistake. They meet that one special woman and they think, what, if I impress her and, I click with her, she think I'm cute, all of that. That's it, game over. That's all I have to do. Nah. Because if you want to get that one woman, even though I'm saying this, no matter how monogamous you are, you're going to have to pull all her friends too. Because here's the thing with women. Here's the thing, fellas. Women are very much influenced by their peers. So if, say, you meet some woman, and y'all click, y'all got everything, and she all excited about you. Then she bring you around her girlfriends ain't feeling you. All of a sudden, that woman might be ready to put you in the friend zone. Because one thing about women, they talk a lot of stuff, a lot of mess about being independent and all of that. Very few women are independent. Very few women are just going to do what they want to do, regardless of what their friends think. Women do a lot of things, not only to impress their friends, but to impress other women. So when a woman is looking at a guy, she ain't just looking at him to fit her needs. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but not just to fit her needs, but she's looking at him to enhance her image in the eyes of her peers. And the whole thing with that is, she needs to look like, yeah, I got the man. If that's why a lot of women, they'll have a good guy in their circle. They'll have a good man, but they're friend zone. And one of the reasons, of course, a reason is they're just not turned on by him, but another reason is he doesn't look good in their friends' eyes. Now I want somebody to really chew on that. Because it's deep. It's deep to the point where a woman, she'll meet a guy. And, back when I was younger, we just get their phone number or something like that. But, nowadays people got text and everything, Facebook. They might get with their girlfriends and just sit in a circle and just check them out. They going to check out everything about you. They might have that one woman, she get on there and say, all right, I know how to find out about his credit. Let's check his Facebook page. How many females looking in his friends list. He's like, hey, he got YouTube, let's see what he doing here. They checking you out. Because the thing with women, because they want that top-notch man. And a aspect of the game that a lot of men don't realize is that women are extremely competitive with each other to get that top man. So that's a lot of times, like if that man who could be feeling them who they even have a little connection with, but he don't look like he's like the top man. You know, he don't look like he's about anything. A woman might pass him over. You know, because her girlfriends are like, him? Yeah, well, what's it about him? And, you know, the woman could be feeling him, too. But see, a lot of women, you know, they more concerned about their friends. You know, some treacherous heifers that will probably screw, if they do get that top man, will probably try to fuck that top man behind their friend's back. Yeah, I talked about that in some videos, too. Because it's all about that competition thing. As an aside, you know, a lot of guys, I'm going to be raw, because I'm going to start being more raw. I said I was going to get deep, but I'm going to get raw, too. A lot of men have gotten pussy from a woman just because that woman didn't like the woman that this guy might have been going out with. Or they could have even been friends, but she checking him out. You know, a lot of women like to talk about men cheating and everything. But a lot of times they know the woman that man is cheating with because they introduced them. Now, getting back to the whole point, he has to pull multiple women. So the general thing is, like, say you in a club or some other social circle, you meet that woman. You have to be mindful that 3 of her friends are checking you out too, and they you know, they might not be feeling you romantically, but they're gonna be in their girlfriend's ear. So a lot of times you have to think about it. See, some guys, they might just focus on that one woman when they're approaching her, or they being approached, whatever the case is, how they interacting. But you gotta think about the big picture. You gotta think about, all right, who in the corner watching this? You know, who taking notes over here? You gotta be able to see the whole picture, and you gotta impress all of them. See, I'll give y'all a little story. I remember I was young, and you know, headed out to the clubs with one of my boys who was true to the game player. Now, if I can convince that dude to do some videos, that dude to get 1 million views in like 6 months. Because that dude, that's one of the few men I learned anything useful from. But anyway, he said, you know, Romuald, because he was the only person on the planet who would like call me by my full name. He said, Romuald, he said, one thing you do, you so focused on that one woman, you ain't paying attention to what these other women are checking you out and, you know, what they thinking. So you have to really learn to look around, be aware of everything. You got to see everybody. And people who know me well say, I'll say that a lot. I'll say, yeah, man, you know, when I go in any situation, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at the woman in the corner. You know, if I see a woman, I'm like, all right, any of her friends around, who she hanging out with? Trust me, that's important. Like if you, like in a club, after, you know, getting this advice from my friend, I learned quick. I remember I was at one club and I saw a group of women. You know, one of them was fine. So, you know, she gave me a little smile. You know, to me, that was an invitation to approach. I walked over to her. You know, I was talking to her, but I was paying attention to how her friends were reacting. Now, I was able to hook up with this particular woman because her friends were smiling too. And that's a key thing, because I already knew once I got the friends smiling, I was like, okay, I got this one woman. Now, I wasn't trying to get with them, but if I went over there and they weren't smiling, I'd been kicking rocks that night. And yeah, I hooked up with one of the friends too later on, but that's another story. That's for the members only site, which is coming. Anyway, the thing is, a man always has to think in those terms. You gotta pull everybody. Like it used to be said, you know, a man gotta like get in with the parents or something, and that's still there, but that's down the road. That first line is the, you know, her peers, her friends. Now, 2 things. One, very, very few women are strong-minded enough to be seen publicly with a man that none of her friends have co-signed. To see in public, very few women are like that. And you get some women who, I gotta give them credit, they don't care. This man make them happy. He's short, dumpy, ugly, what it broke, but dude make them smile. They don't care about those treacherous heifers. She's like, look, I either accept them or I ain't dealing with y'all. You know, she don't care. And I've known quite a few women like that. So it's not something that's like a universal thing, but it's a lot of women. A lot of women just weak-minded like that. And no, it's not a slur. It's just, I'm just being honest. Because if a person allows someone else to influence their decisions to that extent, they're weak-minded. That goes to men too who follow the crowd. Just to be clear, any man who can't like make a decision that's just in his own personal best interest, and he gonna let his friends influence him to that extent, something wrong with him. But nothing but soapbox. And I also want to say there is a notable exception to that, other than the strong women, the strong-minded women. The other exception is the good man. But see, here's the thing with the good man. And I talked about this in that one video I did, Women Had 5 Men. The good man's sole purpose is to, break her back. So she don't need anybody to even know he around. So a man, that's the only time where a woman ain't worried about her peers, because she ain't gonna tell her peers about the good man, because she already know they gonna try to get with him too. And so if a man is picked or chosen by a woman on that level, it don't matter. Her peers don't matter. Those rules go out the door. But the reality is most men ain't gonna be that good man. That's just how it is. Just how it is. So a lot of men got to think about that. You always got to think about, all right, what's my rep? How do these women see me? What's my image? Do a woman see me as someone who is going to make her look better? Because that's how they think. Because, and I probably need to do another video on this. Women, they kind of like Venus fly traps. They hunt. They just do it in a different way. We more aggressive about it, but they kind of like fishermen. They draw you in. They got their little tools. They draw you to them. They choosing you by drawing you to them. And they prefer to choose a certain type of man. A man that can show off to their girlfriends and say, yeah, I got him. And that's some old game right there. That's some old game. In fact, that's some game Malcolm X talked about in his autobiography. That's how deep that is. That's going and talking to my elders, going back at least to like the 20s. That's an old game. And I'll probably jump more into that later. Anyway, just wanted to share that with y'all today. It's all good in the neighborhood, as they say. Anyway, same old. Check out my website. Check out other videos, and I'll holler at y'all people later. Peace.